Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's strategic learning experience in collaboration with our sponsor, Change 3, and our solutions partner, HBAR and Fortitude. I'm Ella Fernandez, Head of Connections at BTechly. Today, our expert will walk us through building AI that works, how business and IT partner for real AI ROI. Before we dive right in, a few housekeeping reminders. Please note, participation in the live Q&A is available only to registered attendees. So if you're watching us via the live stream or another channel, you must register to access the Q&A. You can register by scanning the QR code on your screen or by visiting btechly.com, selecting today's session, and enter your business email address. Once you're registered, you'll receive a calendar invite with a link to join the Q&A session, which is not going to be included in the live stream. Feel free to post your questions or comments anytime on the comment section. We'll highlight a few during the sessions to keep things lively. Please keep the chat respectful and on topic. If you need to leave early, no problem. A replay will be provided. You'll also have the option to book a meet and greet with our expert. Our team will follow up to collect your feedback, complete your voice verification, and help you set up a meet and greet if you want one. And of course, please like, subscribe, and follow both BTechly and Change 3. To kick us off, I'm going to turn it over to our CEO of Change 3, today's sponsor, Nico Bernie Miller.
Hi guys, I'm Nico Bernie Miller. I'm the CEO of Change 3 and I'm not in my studio today, so forgive me for the echo. Thank you for joining us again. If you attended the first session that kicked off our How to Build AI That Works series, thank you for coming back. Today is a working session, so get your notes out, get your recorder, get your AI app so that you get the transcription, because we're actually going to be working through the decision design process. Last session, we talked about, well, what is this? How do you build AI that works? It starts with a mindset, it starts with leadership, and it goes into structured execution. That's also flexible, structured and flexible. Today, we're going to talk about how do you create a roadmap and an approach that helps you build AI that works. It's a 6-part approach that the incredible experts that I'm going to talk about today or talk with today are going to join you. So let's show them on screen and I'll walk you guys through the 6 steps. Then we're going to break down each of the 6 steps together. I've got Adam Dean, the CRO from HBAR Solutions. Hi, Adam.
Hey, Nico. Really appreciate
Thank you. I've also got Stefan Fitzpatrick, who is the CTO and AI expert at HBAR Solutions. I might have got that title wrong, but you are the AI guru.
That's right.
I have got a leadership legend, Colonel John Boggs of Fortitude Consulting. And I've got little old me.
Hey, Nico.
Hey, everybody. Hi. So let's talk about the 6 steps of a decision design framework that I think could work for any business of any size. You got 2 people, you got 2,000 people. This approach can work. The first step is, of course, to craft your vision. And that's kind of the money stop, right? That's the most important bit. Your vision doesn't have to be big. It can be small. You know, we want this particular worker to have access to a certain type of data more easily. We want people to be able to write emails faster. Whatever it is, your vision of what you want to accomplish, that's the first step. The second step is, well, how's that going to benefit your business? What's your ROI? I think in our last discussion, we talked about that a lot. Hey, start with an ROI. Start with a use case that has an ROI. So step number 2 is, what are you trying to accomplish with that vision that you've crafted? Number 3 is the dog, right? Number 3 is, are you ready, right? Are you ready for AI? And ready doesn't mean only your mindset or your leadership skills. Is your data ready? Is your organization ready? Do you have the right environment? Are you ready for change? I'd say that's the biggest thing, guys, is trust me, I'm going through this process myself and it's a fun ride. But whatever you do, as you incorporate generative AI, agents, all this kind of stuff, you're going to have to evolve and the way you do things is going to change. So once you've figured out if you're ready, now you can build a pilot or a starting point. You can start as small as you want. And I recommend you start micro, super small. And once you get some signals that, yeah, this is working and the dog stops whining, then you can then you can measure and measure everything. Don't just measure, did it make us money? Did it give us a capability? Are people happier? Measure everything. And we're going to talk about that. We got some funny stories about the measurement. And you might get an unexpected lift, an unexpected gift. And then the last bit is, what do you do next, right? Do you just scale it? Did it work and you want to scale it? Did it not work like you expected and you want to redesign it? Or do you need to stop? Either way, those are your 6 steps. And I'm going to go deal with this dog. But guys, why don't you kick me off, and let's talk about building a vision. And I'll be right back, okay?
Oh, sorry, Adam, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I guess, John, do you want to kick us off on what it takes to build a vision around the deploying AI inside of a company from a leadership perspective?
Well, if you're going to be, from a leadership perspective, if you're going to start with AI, and I think Nico hit it, she hit the nail square on the head. You start small, but you start with something useful. Pick one workflow that matters. It's got to matter to you. Where time is being wasted, where decisions are slowing down, or people are doing repetitive work. If AI can make that workflow faster, better, or more consistent, that's a good place to start. That's a good place to start. So now I'll throw it up to my colleagues.
Yeah.
That's a leadership
Let me say, I love it. No, that's absolutely perfect, right? But I'm gonna lean in on that just a little bit. I'm gonna double click on it. So friction is what I call that. Is it slow? Or people having a hard time? Are they doing repetitive tasks? Right? That's friction. If you're running a small business, some of this stuff you might not be able to imagine it, but things that might take you a lot of time, an hour or 2 hours to do research, write a report, do that, you literally will transform how you do it. It's not going to do it perfectly for you, but the way that you write that report is going to not only happen faster, but it'll happen in different layers. And so that's very important for you to get a vision of, is that, hey, I'm going to work differently. And actually, even though I'm working differently, it's going to probably be faster and more effective.
Yeah, to that point, I think, a general rule of thumb is if you pick a single work stream where AI can remove 20 to 40% of the pain in like 90 days, you've got a really good opportunity to really start that first project and get that into the business.
What do you think, Stefan?
Yeah, I think it goes back to part of what we were talking about earlier about setting goals, right? Who do we want to enable? What do we want to accomplish? Because you can kind of look at it from 2 different directions. We can think about it, from the top down, where we have like a very specific thing that we're trying to solve for within the business, or we can try and figure out how do we level up everyone within the company and do sort of like that more innovation and transformation. And that requires, I think, a couple things. Like it requires education throughout the company. It requires a mandate, telling people to like, hey, before you start doing something, one of your regular tasks during the day, let's first of all provide them the tool, whether it's like a Claude or a Copilot, whatever it is, and just try it out, see if it actually helps you or not. But that's what I would add.
I love it. I love it. So I always say vision. Start with a vision. It could be big, it could be small, and nothing's wrong. I think the most important part too is wherever you are in your journey, it's not wrong. You don't have to rush either. I always say that to my staff. Don't rush. You don't have to rush. I know you see it. It's everywhere. AI is everywhere. Everybody's telling you're behind. Everybody, especially if you got some gray hair like me, they're telling you you're old, you don't know how to do nothing. They're scaring you, being like, oh, you're not going to have a job. I'm not saying that you might not have a job. Your industry may change. It probably will change. The way you serve your customers probably will change. How you compete probably will change. All those things are very likely to be true. But that doesn't mean that you can't win. It doesn't mean you can't navigate or evolve and aim somewhere different. But here's the one thing I will say. Start thinking about your vision, because it is something that will very likely affect every business, every industry, every worker who deals with information. And even if you're slinging a hammer, right, you're building construction, you might have, who knows, AI might be working, you might be dealing with some AI construction dudes pretty soon. Either way, it's just a perfect time for you to build your skill and build a vision of where you want to go with it. Okay, so vision. Let's talk about, once you've got a vision, the next step is ROI. What does that look like? And I'm gonna start with you, Adam, because you're the money guy, right? So what
Exactly.
does that look like?
So with the ROI, you got to look how you're going to evaluate the impact and the feasibility of it. So how many hours is saved, how much cost is removed, how much revenue is unlocked, how many people are going to benefit from being able to use the new tools. And then you got to look at the feasibility. Do you have the data already, or are your tools already mature that you're going to apply that agent to map to the vision? And do you have the governance in place? Yeah, and then pick something that you can go live in 60 to 90 days. Like most of the time that we see AI projects fail
Okay.
because they tried to tackle way too much at once, and that didn't show any immediate value.
Mhm.
And the CFOs get tired of being bored if not seeing
I
value.
love it. So let me highlight that. So one, quick return, something simple enough that you can roll it out in 60 to 90 days. Number two, make sure that wait, I missed number two. You have to re-educate a girl.
All good. You got to look at the feasibility and the cost of it, right? Like,
Feasibility, right. So let's get some examples here, right? So I want you to give me an example of something feasible for a small team in a big company, because that's what I see a lot, right? Big companies, they done rolled out Copilot or whatever, and they're doing different things and, generative AI, and they're having lots of people use it. But what about in those companies where it's a small team, 5 people, 10 people? And they want an agent, or they're playing around with these tools and they're like, hey, I want to go further. What does that decision framework look like, that group?
I mean, a small group, look for something that's going to take that you know that'll that you can deploy that can reduce some time in that group by 20-30%. That's really simple. Something very simple of just taking all the transcripts from all the meeting notes that we're getting for all the recordings like this, and then making a summary and a heads up for everyone in the meetings, and then keeping the project on track. That is
Oh,
an extremely simple, easy use case for AI to do.
yeah, I love that. Stefan,
Yeah.
you want to give some insight, or John? Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I think a lot of it depends on the team. So, I'm biased because, I write code for a living, but um, something that, I think is interesting is there's a term for like jagged intelligence, or like living at the jagged edge. So these models and these tools like the Copilots and the Claude codes, they're brilliant a lot of the times, and then they just completely fall flat on their face other times. And you don't really know ahead of time when that's going to happen or why. But what I can say is that one of the places where there's just clearly been a lot of value that's being delivered by agents is within software development, right? So I think, providing your teams tools to things like Claude Code, for tools that do, for example, reviews on pull requests like CodeRabbit. There's just a bunch of tools in the space that are proven at this point, and I think just providing those tools, but maybe even a mandate, right? I know that there's a lot of
Interesting.
consternation, a lot of frustration within teams being forced to use AI in their day
Yeah.
to day.
Yeah.
And generally, like I'm against that. I don't think that that's the right way to go. That being said, as someone that writes code all day and has been using these tools, it's gotten to the point where, like, unless you're doing something extremely niche where that's perhaps not going to be within the training data, you are you're leaving a lot on the table by not using
Interesting.
tools like Claude Code. So at that point, I do think it's actually appropriate. This is proven. Like if you're not, on board with how software development is going to be done, moving forward, then you're going to struggle.
Yeah, it's a great point. John, you want to say something?
Well, Stephen and Adam are talking very focused, and that's exactly right. But but from a leadership perspective out there, hey, because you're all out there dabbling around with Copilot or whatever tool it is, it doesn't matter, Claude, you name it, whatever one it is. Don't confuse that dabbling as making progress. You're not making progress. You're getting familiar, but you're not making progress. Please don't confuse that. And I said strategy. From a leadership perspective, you should have a strategy. How does AI play into your strategy? What is the business case? How is it augmenting? How is it making you better, faster, smarter? I mean, all the things I talked about just previously. It's got to do that. Otherwise, you're dabbling, and you're not really using it. You're a great dabbler.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna double click on that too. And I mean, all everything is true. Everybody's right here. But the point is being intentional. I always say strategic use of AI. So it's not like, and that's what we're talking about today, everybody. We're not talking about, okay, I'm gonna play around with it, or I'm gonna, try something. We're talking about having a clear vision of one small thing that you can deploy in 60 to 90 days that's got a clear benefit for your team, your department, your company. That's being a strategic leader and a strategic thinker. And that's really the pivotal point for you. That's the difference between an AI project that probably won't benefit the company or may be perceived as failing, and an AI project that works, right? That can transform your competitive position, transform your operations. And that's really that right there, people. We're done. Thank you. Have a great day, guys. Right?
Yeah.
We're only on step 2, people. We're only on step 2. Okay. So before we move on to step 3, I want you guys to walk me through what it looks like for a really small business. I think we can all take that example and think about an enterprise, big enterprise. If you're in a big company and you're a small team, well, we just gave you a roadmap. How do you go to your boss and get some funding to do an AI pilot? If you're in a mid-sized business, maybe you're 2 or 3 or 4, 10, technical dudes, or you're the head of a department and you want to kick off an AI project. Well, again, we just gave you that roadmap vision, right? You've got a use case. Now you're going to check for readiness. That's the third step. But what if you're a tiny company? So John and I talked a few weeks ago, and he said, hey, as always, he's always speaking somewhere. He was speaking at a conference, and everybody was lined up to talk to him. But one of the people was like a woman who owned a plumbing company. And she was like, 3 people, right? 3 people in the company. She said, I want to use AI so that I have more time. I want to grow. And I know AI can help me do it, but I don't know where to start. So John, talk to me. What does it look like for a really, really small business? And then we'll all round robin it.
Well, that was a good analogy. She was an electric company, not plumbing. But
electric. Thank you.
Right. She was a teeny company, and she had big dreams. She's got big dreams. As a matter of fact, she's a client now. I talked to her earlier today. But yeah, she wants to use AI. Absolutely. Hey, I'm not, folks out there, I am not a tech guy. I'm just a leadership guy. And I know this, if you don't understand technology, you are going to be left behind. You're going to be, when you look up, you're going to wonder what the hell that was that hit me. So, but the reality is this, hey, even the smallest companies use data. Even the smallest companies research. I mean, I'm sorry, a one-person company, folks, a one-person company uses data. They research. They reach out. They need, I mean, holy smokes.
Still proposing.
AI just, it makes your life so much simpler if you understand how to make it work for you. If you're a single person company or a mini company, so to speak, Yahoo, you don't need to go through a lot of machinations for getting approvals to do things. No, just go do it. Shit, I mean, hell, go for it. You know it's gonna make me better. Nobody wants you to survive. Nobody does.
You're
There's
right.
another little company out there that wants your business.
Yeah.
One of you is going to survive because you understand how to make AI work for you. The other one won't.
Yeah.
So this be smart, be a good business person, and be vicious because AI will help you be all of those things. It will help you be smart and vicious.
And nice too. Yes, thank you. I'm gonna double click on that too again. So I love John's always he's like, okay, bye, we're done now. But I'm gonna double click on that. So one person, I always say AI is money. The bigger you are, the smaller you are. AI is time.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
The fewer employees in your company, the more hats you wear, right? The more jobs you have to do, and the less time you have to do each job really well. It's a gradient, right? It's not binary. So AI starts to give you more time to do each of those jobs that you're split across really well. And now, as a small company, you can operate extremely well and be extremely competitive even against big companies. But guys, like John said, hey, there's a competitor who wants your customers. The same is true. Before it used to be, oh, big companies aren't nimble, they're not agile, they can't serve customers as well as I can. Well, baby doll, here's what's happening. They can start to code up these really smart AI agents that can be highly personal and really sweet and really thoughtful and very intentional and give that personalized, direct, persistent, consistent support that you as a small business owner might be giving your customers. So pretty soon you're probably going to compete head to head with get big companies, retail, food service, hospitality, information, technology, what every industry. The competitive landscape will change. This isn't a doom or gloom. This isn't a scare tactic. It's none of that. It's just, guys, it's going to change. So, hey, get you a new outfit, skill up, get your pimp gear right. You get out there, and here's the roadmap to do it. All right. So, Stephen and Adam, Hunt, you know what, Stephen? I see your name 3 different ways. So you just be like, girl, this is my name. It's okay.
I was just
You're
telling
not
people
going.
like Stephen Curry because he's famous.
Okay, you
Yeah.
just see, now I'm not gonna get it wrong. Now I'm not gonna get it wrong. Okay. But so either gentlemen, for a really small business, right? And I know HBAR Solutions guys, we're so proud that they're one of our strategic technology partners. They're actually our primary because they are literally the best. We work with so many, but these guys are one of the few companies that'll work with really small businesses and really massive. And a lot of people will be like, oh, no, I don't mess with the little guys. A lot of folks will be like, oh, I can't scale to serve the big guys. And this is literally probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 companies in the world that can do both. So, and I'm honored that they would be rocking with us. So guys, talk to us about like little bitty companies. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely agree with what you said, Nico and John. As a smaller company, your most valuable asset is your time. So when you're trying to figure out where you're going to deploy your time, you got to look at it as what's going to offload a lot of the time that I'm actually consuming on like back office stuff, because you care about your revenue, you got to get it in. And then you also got to make sure your back office, which Nico does a great job of helping out with a lot of back office stuff.
Thank you.
I do love the partnership there. And but making sure your back office is very efficient. That's a very easy way to do it. But there are like 4 areas that I would say definitely avoid using AI. Do not use it for legal judgment. Do not use it for financial improvement. No hiring decisions or compliance or risk assessments. Stay away from AI on those, or anybody that's telling you they're using AI for those. But yeah, and the great thing with it, like you were saying earlier, Nico, is now with AI, you can actually build your services to be competitive against the larger people in the market.
Yep.
And you can also, and the more you build your AI and tune it to your voice and to your delivery method and shining your great personality and what you're building your company for, those are huge differentiators that you would have had to spend $15,000, $20,000 for a big company to come in and do all these things for you.
Yep.
So it's super helpful in then understanding, like, where are you going to get your best bang for your buck? And then you just iterate. It's not going to be perfect the first time you roll it out.
It'll probably never be perfect, right? It's a journey.
It
I love
will.
it.
No company stays the same. If you do, you die.
Ding-a-ling, right? Okay. So now step 3. So we talk about number 1, come up with a vision. Make sure it's small, make sure it's meaningful and intentional, be strategic. Number 2, figure out what you're trying to get from that vision. What are you gaining? Money, time, whatever it is, right? Be clear, because it's going to shape everything you do. It's intention, people, right? Be in the moment, be intentional. Now you could play around, but when you get to this part, your decision to sign, we not play pimping, we real pimping right now, right? That's going to be the 30-second reel right there. Okay. So step number 3, right? Step number 3, people, this is the most important part of the decision design as you think about how you're going to transform and build AI that works. That's the readiness check. And I think honestly, and Stefan and Adam, I'm sure you guys are going to have some thoughts on this, but I feel like the issue here with the readiness check is that folks might not know what needs to be ready. So I'll tell you my own story, because y'all might be like, well, honey, how come you on this panel? Well, I'm on this panel because 6 months ago, I went to a conference. I have this incredible client. They host this conference, a Microsoft 365 community conference. And this is literally the truth. It's not a commercial. And they were like, you need to come. I'm an introvert. I don't want to go to big conferences, like thousands of people. It was like a no for me. But the owner was like, no, girl. She doesn't say that, but that's how I hear things. She's like, no, honey. He was like, you need to come. Okay. So I went and I was shocked. I saw the little Copilot logo and was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And I opened it. I was like, I don't even know what this is. This looks like one of my kids' games, right? I was like, nope, I'm not messing with this. And so I was absolutely behind the scenes, or I would say behind the times, I was not on the bleeding edge or the jagged edge or anybody's edge when it came to this kind of stuff. I call myself zero AI. I was completely a skeptic. I went, and then I went to these sessions and they're walking through all this stuff. Oh, you could do this, and here's a training, and you could do that. And I was like, wait, what? That was 6 months ago. Okay. So in a matter of, just like what Adam said, in about 60 to 90 days, I went from 100, like literally 0 to, I think 50% of my employees use Copilot. And we have doubled, we're about to triple in revenue. And y'all may be like, girl, I don't believe you, but it's literally the truth. And so how are we able to do that? I'm telling you this story. That's why I'm on this panel, because I'm just the use case, right? But how we were able to do it is what I told you. I've been around for a while. I know it doesn't look like it, but I got some mileage, I've been around for a while, and I've been running, my business in a different capacities. And my challenge has always been, we're constantly having to do new types of things. And it's really difficult for my staff to build those skills in a fast enough pace where we can tackle a competitive opportunity. And the barrier to bring in that expertise into our organization is always too high. Oh, I need a data science expert. Well, that's 200 grand. I need a digital marketing expert. Oh, that's 160 grand, right? I need a software developer. That's 400 grand, whatever. Right? Now, these not real pay levels, but but you know what I mean? It's like the barrier to add the talent and the time to bring in the talent it prohibited us from realizing the opportunity. Well, now I'm like, okay, girlfriend, you've been with me for 10 years. You're not a data scientist, but guess what? You got Copilot, so go rock it out. And I'm not kidding you. No, they're not the same as, some data scientists, but they get far enough. I mean, I'm talking pretty far in new skill sets. I'm talking really fast, like next day, a week later, like really far, so that we could do new stuff. And that's really where the revenue came from. Things that we struggled to do in the past that we had the vision for but couldn't execute. Well, now we're executing it like champs. And now we're going further and further. And these guys are going to help me go even further. But that's my point to you guys. Readiness. What do you need to be ready for? Data. That's one of our barriers. the way you save your files, the way you write things, how you store information, when you do that research, the way you do that, I found that was a barrier. It didn't stop us, but it didn't make our results as poignant as they could be. So, luckily, I'm doing my thing. So Copilot's like, girl, you need to get your data right. That's my Copilot's name, Keisha. That's how she talks to me. And so, but it's like, you need to get your data right. And truthfully, right, you set those things up, and next thing you know, you've expanded, or it's unlocked capabilities. Security, right? And I'm sure, Adam, you're going to talk about that. That's a big one. Like, I always tell people, like, are you serious? Like, you uploaded your company financial into chat? Are you serious?
Mhm.
Like, we don't always realize, like, there's things that you need to be ready for. So, gentlemen, what are the main things that you have to be ready for to build AI that works, regardless of the size of your business?
So real quick, you really can't have a successful AI project without minimum viable ownership. I'm sure John can talk into this like a lot more, but if you look at it from a company perspective, you have to have a business owner who's going to own the outcome. You're going to have the IT owner that's that has some security background at a minimum. And then you're going to have the governance owner, whether that's your IT strategy or your ops or your InfoSec team. You're going to have those three as the main core. So John, I know you can speak really, really well on that. So I'll let you.
No, Adam, you're spot on. I mean, it's someone has to own the business problem that you're going to solve. Just very basically putting it, folks, someone owns the business problem, someone owns the security and the guardrails. And now you're talking, what part of the business owns the problem? IT owns the guardrails and the security, and ops sits on top of all of it and keeps everything rolling. So that's it as a minimum as for making this thing work for you.
So with your little tiny company, it's still the same. It's not, but it might not be multiple people. It might be, you, the owner, and your IT service provider, or your techie dude, or your office manager, whoever manages
Yes, ma'am.
your tech.
And if you're the only guy, hey, this is my
Mhm.
company and I'm everything in this company, just
Mm-hmm.
understand you own all those hats.
Yep.
But it's 3 hats. It's 3 hats, people. You
Three
gotta
hats, buddy. And
own
don't
the
forget that
decision,
security hat.
security, and the
Please
tech
don't forget that
security.
security hat.
Yes. Yep. So just for people who might not know, Adam or Stefan, what is governance? What does that mean in the context of an AI scenario?
That's a very broad term. Steph, you want to take a quick crack at it?
Yeah.
It can mean a lot.
It is almost like an improv test. You're right.
It is. Yeah.
But I think there's so much here, but I think there's even a legal aspect, right?
Mhm.
Because, for example, depending on how you're using these tools, that'll determine, for example, whether it's going to be able to train their next model based on the data that you provide, right? So if you're using ChatGPT or any of these on the free tier, they're training on the data that you upload. Now, let's say that you have a license, you're paying money, that will also determine whether that's the case or not. But even beyond that, you have to consider that whatever you may be uploading into ChatGPT or one of these systems could be admissible in court. So even if you have that license that says they're not going to train my models, like, you still have to keep that stuff in the back of your mind. So I think it just, whatever happens, and Adam already touched on this, we need to bring in all the necessary stakeholders in the business, right? Like, we can't have like the executives not understanding what's going on in the business. The thing that I would also add too is that I think smaller companies actually have the potential to get more leverage from these tools than larger
Correct.
companies. And it's because of the things that you were mentioning, Nico, for example, where, we're all specialized. We all have like the one thing or few things that we're very good at. But now we have these tools that can like really help upskill you or up level you in domains that you may not be an expert in. So to your point, you can have folks do things that may not have otherwise been in kind of like their wheelhouse, and they can get pretty far. But that being said, it's a double-edged sword, because if you start handing people power tools and they're not thinking about security and licenses and data provenance and governance and all that stuff, you can get into trouble. So I think it's just a matter of keeping everyone in the loop, looping in all the necessary stakeholders, but still, trusting people within your company to be clever and giving them the right tools in the right direction. And you'll be surprised what people will do.
Yeah, thank you. So the summary, right? To break it down for the folks who might not be technical that are watching this is, governance is how you review at a high level what's going on with your AI tools. So, and it might allow you to have control over guardrails. It might allow you to control and secure things more effectively. The smaller you are, the more you still need governance. You still need to know whether they call it oversharing. Are you giving access? Are you using AI with sensitive information? Are you using AI with customer information? Is it able to go find? Because these are really smart little bots like ants. It's going to go searching around if you've got all your data in a cloud drive, for example. Like for us, we use Microsoft 365. We use OneDrive, so all of our stuff is in there. But Mama have some secret recipes that I don't put in that. I put it somewhere else, right, for that purpose. And that's the mindset you got to start to think like, Big Mama down the street, she got her pocketbook and then she got her other stuff, you know what I mean? But you got to think about that. You don't want to overshare, especially too early in your journey. So a great way for you to build some knowledge is use your AI, right? You ask it, hey, what are guardrails? That's how you protect things. What are some tips, right? Build your skill. That's the best way for you to learn right now, is to ask your AI and then go cross-check that, right? Go validate what it's telling you. That'll help you get real quick. I wanted to acknowledge somebody who posted a question. Thank you. Yes, AI, legal firms are using a ton of AI, but see, here's the thing. And I did a session last year with an award-winning attorney, and she's like, don't use AI for legal. Here's the thing. And just like we talked about, yes, there's situations where you can add capability and skill to people on your staff. But when it comes to stuff where it's like licensed professionals, AI can tell you a lot of stuff, but you always have to check and verify to make sure it's right. So if you're not a lawyer and it's giving you legal advice, you can't say, well, that's bad legal advice, right? I've had multiple attorneys be like, oh, I love that people are using AI because then I beat them in court. Thank you, right?
Yep.
So, right? So you definitely, oh, right. I think I stole that from you. Yes, exactly. And here's my analogy that I give to people is, yes, you can go find a YouTube video of how to take out your pancreas. And you can go onto Amazon and buy all the stuff you need, but you still should not do that, right? I don't encourage you to go take out your pancreas or your appendix or whatever it is, even though you could get the tools and you could watch a video and read a book. It's not the same. And this is the same scenario.
All the time and money you can save.
And the lives that you would lose, right? I get it. And you know what? You might be successful a couple of times, but the times that you aren't, it's like, come on. And that's what I always tell people. I use that analogy actually when I talk to people that marketing isn't as easy, and because people are always like, oh, everybody can market. Yes, we all are marketers, but it's actually a skill, just like being a doctor, right? And though you could take out somebody's appendix and you could go learn how to do it and get the tools, I wouldn't recommend you do it. And the same is true for some of your marketing. Yeah. So we talked about readiness. Here's the stuff that I would say: security readiness, data readiness. Is your data ready? And people readiness. Are your people ready for this? Hey, I know lots of companies are like rolling tools out that are like, hey, you got to use this stuff, and it's all good. And sometimes you do got to put your foot down like you are when you're dealing with your kids, right? You just got to do this. You got to eat the broccoli. So there's sometimes you have to do it. But there are things that you could do to make it easier, right? To make them more likely to use it. Because what did we talk about at the beginning? Friction is the thing that you want to reduce or eliminate from your organization. And as we go forward into this new AI era, we're going to start to see frictionless organizations. In economics, friction, when we talked about global, trade and globalization, That was actually one of the things that was a barrier to it, decades ago was, oh, transportation costs is called, it's all in this category of friction. Well, now we've gotten to a world with the cloud and the internet and all this sort of stuff that we have frictionless transactions. Well, the same is true with AI. We're going to a scenario where you might actually have frictionless operations. People can skill up really quickly. They can reimagine, they can analyze, they can interpret really quickly. And so the friction that's always been inherent, how to gather data, how to see the signals, how to interpret those results, how to do something with it, how to act on your data, all those things that used to take a lot of time, those things are going away. So what you want to do, though, if you're rolling out AI and you're forcing it onto people, well, guess what? You just created a new kind of friction, which is, I don't want to use this friction, right?
Yeah.
And
I think
you
the thing
limit
that I would add
yourself.
here too is that one of the big problems with doing anything technology wise within a business is the adoption. And
Yeah.
um, I think what has probably happened to a lot of folks is that they used AI for whatever they were trying to do maybe a year ago, and it just fell flat on
Hmm.
its face. And I
Yeah.
can tell you that just within the past 3 to 4 months, there's been a huge jump in performance.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think people may need to update their priors.
Try it
But also
again.
separate from that, I
Yeah.
think there's a couple different dimensions along which you can maybe think about where it's appropriate to plug these things in. Because, for example, if it's low stakes work, an hallucination may not be a big deal if you're trying to research. Let's take law for an example, right? You
Hmm.
might be researching information to be able to like write your brief. Well, the research phase, if you use AI to help you on that, if it finds a link that doesn't exist or isn't relevant, well, no big deal, right? Like you just ignore that. But if you would use it to actually write the brief itself, pretty high stakes, that's different, right? The other thing is too,
Hmm.
again, going back to code and software, like that's a convenient domain because you can write tests and you can verify whether the output is actually correct or not in a very accurate, obvious, discrete way. That's not always going to be the case with a lot of things. Like in law, there's a lot of gray area, right? So think
Yeah.
about those things. Is this something where 2 + 2 = whatever? I can verify that. And then also, is it high stakes or low stakes?
Great point. Fantastic. All right, readiness. Now, number 4. So you got your vision. You figured out how you're going to measure if it's successful. And you said, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I got my outfit. I'm ready to go. So where are you going? What's next? Well, build your pilot. So techie guys, I'm going to start with you, dear. So Mr. Maroon gorgeousness, right? So talk to me. Where do you start? What's that pilot look like?
The biggest.
What's that best pilot start look like?
Oh, wait. The best process or the best pilot start with? Sorry.
Well, yeah, best. How does a best pilot start? What does that look like?
It's really just defining your minimum viable workflows. I mean, that's the biggest
Mhm.
thing because that's where you actually just kind of start out of like, what's the easiest thing for me to tackle? And then you can
True.
easily verify it. And then you add in
Hmm.
security controls after that. And
Hmm.
then that way you understand like, and is it working? Is it secure? Is it within my risk parameters of like governance, right? It
Yeah,
stays in that. And is this going to solve the pain point of my team that they're actually going to adopt? So
yeah.
that's kind of the easiest steps to kind of think through that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's actually what we did. I mean, I didn't know that I was doing it all fancy like you just described. The way you described it sounds really fancy. But I actually did that. I was like, hey, let's use Copilot in meetings,
Yeah.
right? Like it'll take notes and then write action items. I was like, oh my gosh. And that was like super transformational. And then we're like, the person who was our first pilot, right? One person. And then she was like, hey, I learned how to write an agent. Well, she actually adapted an agent that existed, and she was like, "Hey, I use Copilot Studio. I changed this agent so it's just right for us." And so and here we didn't know. I didn't know I was. I came up with a vision. I evaluated. I had my use case. I had my minimum threshold. I created a pilot, and then once that worked, it was like, hey, now it was 10 people, then it was 15 people, or whatever, right? So
So
you might go through those process without realizing it.
I'm going to tell you the simplest first use case that I did.
Hmm.
I call it my PR department
I
because
love it.
I got it to, I just created an agent that takes my thoughts that I have based upon an email and says,
Yeah.
hey, here are my thoughts in the reply. Make this more
Mhm.
professional and upbeat. So
I
I'm like,
love
okay,
it.
easy workflows divine.
Yes.
define ROI. I didn't have to spend an hour trying to find the right words to make this thing coming up. So I was able to do it quickly. And then did it cuss somebody out or make somebody mad? So that followed my governance.
I love it. That's
Very easy.
perfect. That's
And then
perfect.
now I can share and deploy that agent throughout my company really easily using
Yeah,
Copilot. So now
that's
I've
what we did too.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's what we did
really
too.
simple use case. It doesn't
Yeah.
take a lot of time, but does save you a ton of time in your day.
Oh my gosh. Yep. So one little thing. So hey, there's platforms out there. You know, you got ChatGPT, you got Claude, you got Copilot. Copilot uses both. You know, there's other, and I'm sure there'll be other things that'll come out. There's Gemini, there's Grok. I don't think Grok is like accessible, like for workflows or whatever. But there's stuff out there, and there'll be stuff that'll probably come. So the skills that I encourage you to build aren't should I wouldn't recommend you be focused on one.
Mhm.
Yes, there will be one that you use the most, and that's your thing, right? I got my Keisha, maybe you got your Luis or your Bob or whoever, or you maybe you don't give it a name, I get that. But you have a tool that you prefer. But really what we're talking about and what I encourage everybody to do is the skill, right? The mindset, the strategic thinking, the intentionality, and the momentum is the skill. Because it won't matter. There's probably going to be a world where you use all of them, right? You use a little this one for here and a little that one for there, or whatever. That may or may not be the best case. But I know 30 years ago when the server market, right, went from all these custom configured to industry standard servers, right, compact, which doesn't exist anymore, but right, that was a huge deal. And it was all about like best of breed or right uniform stack or whatever, right? And it's still always that argument, right? Do you do the best of everything or just one you integrate? And so it depends on what your preference is, and this AI world is the same. Do you do everything the same, matchy or do you figure out what you like where? It's all good. There's no wrong answer, and that's what's great about it. It fits you, however, as long as it fits you, then it's right. All right, so we're wrapping up. We went through the first four steps, which is really, I'd say, the hardest part, but every step in this decision design journey is important. So the fifth step is the one where the magic might happen. So you had your vision, you got your ROI, you made sure you were ready, you built a pilot that was small enough that you could deploy it in 60 to 90 days, get some results. Number five is how you measure it. I
Mhm.
call it signals. Some people say KPIs, right? Maybe have some things, outcomes or whatever. I call them signals because some stuff it shows up, right? It flashes. People are happier, right? They do stuff better. They respond to you faster. You can't necessarily measure that, but you can see it, right? So I think signals are important, and KPIs, hard numbers. Like Stephen said, 2 plus 2 is 5, right? No, no, it's 4, right? But it's like hard numbers. Like I would encourage you to have a combination of both, right? So you can see signals, and that you're really measuring, and that you go through that. That's also intentional measurement phase. So talk to me about it, dear. I see
Yeah.
you open your mouth. You want to talk about something.
So
You-
I think there's like the hard cost, the easy measurements to where you're looking at
Mhm.
time saved, cost reduced, but also got to throw in the soft cost. Like, are your employees happier? Are they more efficient?
Yeah,
Are your customers getting a better experience? Is more
yeah,
more tailored?
yeah.
Those are different ways to look at ROI. I'm sure John and Stephen have some other ideas too.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's very good. Because I would say you start small, make sure it's measured, um, and in those measures, I mean, starting small is like, hey, summarizing meeting notes. It's drafting first pass client emails. It's customer responses. It's it's sales follow up support. Those sorts of things. Start small. But when you measure, you should be measuring. You should be measuring for because these are things you can measure. You can measure, are people happy? Are they happy? Are they using it? Did it cut the friction down? Did it save you time? How much time did it save you? How much time does it normally take us to do this? This is how much time it took us when we started using AI.
Hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are too easy to measure. And I would also, when you do your tests, start small, but I would start in-house.
Hmm.
Don't do something
Yes.
that's going to go out of house first, and then you all look dumb as a door. Done.
Yeah.
Start small. Start in house. That's
Yeah.
just that's
Totally
just
agree.
advice. Take it or leave it. Don't start broad. Don't start
Mhm.
with no owner. No one owns this.
Yeah.
Well, we're just doing it. Well, who owns it? Who owns the outcomes? Everybody's looking and pointing fingers. Well, nobody. And you know what you're going to measure right up front. We're going to measure the time. How much time do we spend at this? How much time are we spending at it now? So you have all your benchmarks set before you even start. And there you go.
Mhm.
And your measurements are done before you start. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. These are the
Hmm.
benchmarks. And then we go from there. Good
Yeah,
leadership,
I think
guys.
the
That's
other
what it
thing that
is.
I would add
Yep.
Yeah.
is
Please.
having some observability and reproducibility. So instead of treating your, let's say that you're using AI for reporting purposes, you don't want to have it just be a black box, right? You want to understand, uh, one thing I always like to say is like one team, one number, right? When we talk about
Mhm.
certain metrics within the company, whether it's like, churn, subscriptions, whatever it may be, we understand how that number was calculated, right? So whenever you plug in AI into that workflow, just make sure that you have a visibility into like how did it actually reach this number, so that you
Yes.
can know that it's not just hallucinating or making things up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So start small, make sure you measure it. A couple of other points in the measurement phase is, success might not be what you originally planned. And we were joking about this analogy I'm about to throw out. So, decades ago, they were trying to create a heart drug, but it actually had a different impact on people. And so the little blue pill was born, right? And all they, things popped up and they were like, wow, how did that work? So, you might start at one place. You might think that, hey, here, this is what I want to do to improve my business. And if you're too myopic, right, you're not actually like, John said, you're not being strategic or intentional, then you might miss other benefits that that pilot delivered. It may not have delivered the thing that you originally were planning on. And you do need to reevaluate and restart a different project. But there might be some things that you can harness, from that project that could help you in your transformation or your change management. So definitely encourage that. Last step on your journey to build AI that works. We walk you through 5 of the 6 steps of a decision design approach, framework, whatever you want to call it. This is a proven approach. It's going to work no matter how small or how big you are. Last step, depending on how steps 1 through 5 went, you make a decision at the very end. Do you scale? Do you redesign? Do you stop? You
Hmm.
made it, right? In most cases, you're probably going to scale or redesign, but you might say, this didn't do what I wanted and it's not giving me anything worth getting. So I'm going to stop. And no is powerful. It's okay. AI is not going to be perfect in every scenario. Don't force it. It's okay. It'll be great somewhere else. And you don't have to have AI in every part of your business,
Hmm.
especially if you're small, but also if you're big, right? It doesn't have to benefit every part of your business. But I'll challenge you and people out there, come on, I give you a beverage, right? We'll go buy a beer. But I challenge you. I would say every business in America, no matter how small you are, could benefit from some use of AI right now, especially if you're secure and you got the guardrails. You will benefit in some degree, whether it's writing an email or helping you go faster with the presentation. It's probably not taking out somebody's appendix, but you never know. Right? It depends on what you do. So, guys, what do you think? Last step, any closing thoughts?
I think you hit the nail on the head. If you get through for the first 5 steps, you'll have your decision tree right in front of you, and it'll be very, very bright and glaring in which direction you're going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I,
guys,
I think
thank you.
I
Yeah,
think
please, John.
if you're going to worry about whether I'm going to use AI or not, uh, Nico talked about it earlier. She talked about economic friction, and most companies have an economic friction. And what is that? That's the hidden drag on an organization. That's the
That's right.
hidden drag on an organization. It's
That's
wasted
right.
time. It's wasted effort, slow decisions. It's preventable costs.
Yeah.
Preventable costs. So if you're looking at using AI, start there. Start on one of your hidden frictions. I mean, you know them. You know them. They're there. And we all have them. We all have them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me on today. We're gonna do we now usually what we do is the live stream portion ends, and then we've had some questions, but if you want to stay with us and you have some questions and you've been registered for the webinar portion, then me and these handsome gentlemen will stay here and we'll actually ask or answer your questions. But the live stream portion is about to end. As always, the replay will be available, and Miss Ella is going to come back and remind us of our housekeeping rules, and then we'll be ready for Q&A. So, Miss Ella, you want to take us back?
Yep. Thank you so much, everyone. That is a very insightful discussion. Just like what Nico said to everyone watching on the live stream, thank you again for joining us today. Be sure that you've registered and you joined this session using the calendar, using the link that we provided to your calendar invite. If you haven't registered, be sure to register by visiting btechly.com so you can join our Q&A session. And of course, you can schedule a one-on-one discussion with one of our amazing experts today. Our team will be following up with everyone who registered. And so you could, everyone who's staying, you could ask your questions, bring whatever questions you want, have answered, like implementation, scale, strategy, ROI creation, what have you. And bye.
Thank you on the live stream.